The movie starts in the desert landscape of New Mexico in 1947, and a station worker in contact with another station crew member, a radio operator, is startled by a strange transmission that sets his dog into a panic. The noise, baffling and inexplicable, prompts him to hook up more equipment in an attempt to decode it, but the result remains a mystery. Growing uneasy, he contacts another station, only to learn the signal originates from Roswell. With his dog and radio in tow, he embarks on a drive toward the source. As he nears, a strobe glow and smoke fill the horizon, and his dog leaps out, barking wildly. Just as he approaches, a piercing sound fills the air, and he freezes, glancing up at an overwhelming light. Fast forward to Antarctica, it is 2003. A team of scientists, while scanning beneath the ice, detect a mysterious object entombed 5 or 4 meters below. At the University of California, cryptologist Julian attempts to focus on his lecture. Despite the constant advances of a student trying to catch his attention, she sends him an email address that shows high interest in him. Unmoved by her flirtations, he brushes it off even when she sends him a suggestive email, casually closing his laptop without a second glance. After class, Julian meets with Dr. John Bachman, who shows him a satellite image of a colossal object, which is an unidentified mass and recently discovered in Antarctica. John hands Julian a CD with a recording of the signal, hoping he can make sense of it. But Dr. John warns him not to embarrass the institution. At a research lab in the Falkland Islands, 2 scientists stumble upon the same bizarre signal. Baffled by its complexity, they send their findings to an observatory in Arizona. Days later, Julian boards a turbulent flight to Antarctica, the plane shaking violently as a storm rages outside. With visibility nearly zero, the pilots rely solely on the faint glow of the base's lights to guide their descent. After a tense landing, the plane skids across the icy surface before finally stopping. Once inside the base, Julian is met by Nyla, who swiftly leads him through the facility. She then introduces him to Dr. Gierach, the head of the entire operation. Julian is soon taken to view the mysterious object, which has been carefully excavated but remains encased in ice. Following protocol, the team is allowing the ice to melt naturally, though its rapid thawing has raised eyebrows. Both Dr. Gierach and Julian suspect that the object may not be of this world. When Julian touches the ice, an eerie sensation pulses through his arm as he touches it, flooding his mind with flashes of recent memories. His hand turns red upon pulling away, and at that moment, Dr. Kate, his ex, arrives on the scene. Though skeptical of Julian's ability to stay out of trouble, she implores him to behave, as this project is of great importance to her. That night, Julian dreams of a radiant entity buried deep within the ice. He wakes abruptly, startled by an odd noise, and steps into the hallway, noticing a dark figure gliding through puddles on the floor. Intrigued and uneasy, he quietly follows, but a sudden invisible force seizes him, twisting him around. Julian wakes abruptly, uncertain whether the events from the previous night were real or merely a vivid dream. The following morning, Neela guides him to a fascinating new experiment, a genetically modified crop that allows corn to thrive in the harsh Antarctic climate. Inside the warm greenhouse, the team works in light clothing due to the high temperatures. Julian can't help but notice how well Kate interacts with Dr. Michael Straub, and a sudden wave of jealousy washes over him. Later, Kate approaches Julian, apologizing for her earlier behavior. Despite Julian's attempt to respond kindly, she quickly departs, leaving him feeling conflicted. Meanwhile, a government agent and the Secretary of Defense examine the profiles of Julian, Dr. Gierach, and John. At the base, Julian dedicates long hours to trying to decode the enigmatic signal, but the work is grueling and progress remains minimal. He's soon joined by Communications Officer Christian, who shares how he tracked the signal's origin deep within the Antarctic ice. Taking a break, they head to the mess hall, where Christian introduces Julian to the rest of the crew. Over lunch, the conversation quickly shifts to Julian's research. Straub seizes the moment to mock Julian's belief in the signal's extraterrestrial origins, causing a flicker of irritation to cross Julian's face. Seizing the moment, Julian heads to inspect the object, now shocked by how quickly the snow surrounding it has melted. The massive structure is nearly fully exposed. He points out that the signal they've been analyzing wasn't harmonic when Grisham first discovered it, indicating that several frequencies have now fused into one, signaling that something entirely new is unfolding. With the satellite connection down, Julian convinces Grisham to set up an antenna, allowing him to continue analyzing the signal. The next morning, the entire building shudders for several minutes, causing the object to dislodge from its hangars. Rushing to the scene, the crew finally gets an unobstructed view of the object. When Kate touches the surface, she's jolted by an electric shock. Disturbed by this new discovery, the team concludes that the object is made of igneous rock. Julian races back to his computer, convinced that the object they've unearthed is some kind of black box, retrieval data meant to call for rescue. Explaining his theory to the group, he suggests that the object crash-landed on Earth by accident and has been broadcasting a distress signal ever since. During a break, Straub voices his disbelief, claiming the idea of aliens is absurd. Their conversation is interrupted when they're called back to the maintenance bay, where a crew member has discovered a thin crease on the object. Meanwhile, John is called to the White House, where he's greeted with alarming updates about the object in Antarctica. Communication with the base has been cut off due to the unrelenting storm, heightening the tension. In a drastic move, they've partnered with a Russian submarine, already en route to the base, armed with nuclear warheads ready to launch if the threat escalates beyond their control. Back at the base, the team gathers the next morning to continue their work. They connect the object to one of their machines using cables, sparking an electrical reaction that neutralizes the erratic energy pulses it had been emitting. Armed with a saw, they carefully begin cutting through the outer layer, revealing a softer, more pliable material hidden beneath the tough exterior. Meanwhile, Julian's computer displays the message from the object, which keeps shifting in real time. He tells Nyla that it seems like the object is actively trying to communicate. When Nyla jokingly compares the situation to the game *Mine Maze*, it sparks an idea in Julian on how to decipher the message. With renewed focus, Julian tries various approaches, and after several rounds of trial and error, he finally succeeds in translating the message. His blood runs cold as the decoded text reveals a simple but ominous warning: do not open. Julian and Nyla, overcome with panic, sprint to the maintenance bay, but by the time they arrive, it's already too late. Glowing energy pulses violently from the object, and the man operating the saw is writhing in agony. Within moments, an explosion rips through the room, injuring several crew members and destroying equipment in its wake. Grabbing flashlights, the remaining team members hurry to the bay to help the injured. Miraculously, everyone survives except the saw operator, whose body has been reduced to a charred, lifeless shell. As the group gathers around the object, they inspect the hole made by the saw. To their astonishment, the interior is not just metallic or mechanical. Straub organic structures are now visible. The discovery leaves the team shaken, realizing that they may be dealing with something far beyond machinery, something alive and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Inside, they spot a frozen alien figure, its body perfectly preserved in the ice. Nyla collapses, blood streaming from her nose as she writhes in pain. Within minutes, others begin to suffer the same gruesome fate, groaning in agony as their bodies rapidly deteriorate. The few survivors gripped by terror scramble to seal themselves in a room, watching in helpless horror as the chaos unfolds on the security cameras. They see the alien's frozen form still encased in the ice, unmoving, but the damage is done. Grisham frantically attempts to contact someone for help, but the communication systems remain offline, leaving the group trapped and isolated as the mysterious virus continues its lethal rampage. Meanwhile, the revelation sparks a heated argument about what to do next. As tensions rise, the group is paralyzed when the alien's eyes snap open. By the time they look back at the screen, the creature has disappeared from the bay. Agreeing that they must find it, the crew arm themselves with the guns brought by the pilots, navigating the dark base with only flashlights to guide them. As they comb through the maintenance bay, Straub gets startled, feeling something brush against his back, but it's only Cap. Meanwhile, Grisham is unknowingly being watched from the shadows, though the lurking presence slips away just as he turns with his flashlight. The pilot, feeling something stalking him, lets out a scream when he catches movement in the corner of his eye. The tension builds as Julian scrambles over a pile of boxes, trying to reach another level of the base. Simultaneously, Kate, in an effort to conserve power, turns off electricity in the rooms they're not using. This causes Julian to lose his footing, but he quickly regains composure and begins following a strobe noise that echoes through the corridors. At last, Julian comes face to face with the alien. To his surprise, the creature appears frightened. In a gesture of goodwill, Julian lowers his flashlight and speaks softly, hoping to show the alien that he means no harm. The alien cautiously steps closer, its claws hovering near Julian's flashlight, leaving the light extinguished. With a slow, deliberate movement, the alien reaches for Julian's head, placing its hands on both sides, sharing a strobe energy between them. When the alien opens its eyes, Julian is overwhelmed by stunning visions of the universe, which are vivid, awe-inspiring glimpses of galaxies and planets. And at that moment, when the others arrive, the bullet strikes the alien, causing an intense beam of energy to burst from the wound, knocking both the pilot and other crew to the ground as they try to approach. The energy pulses violently until it's fully expelled, leaving the alien to collapse and die. Its body quickly disintegrates, vanishing into nothingness. Afterward, the pilot defends his actions, insisting he believed the alien was about to kill Julian. Meanwhile, the White House finally breaks through the storm and establishes contact with the base. John, visibly tense, informs them that they are aware of the alien presence and the infection spreading within the base. Julian, eager to calm the situation, assures them that the illness hasn't escaped beyond the facility. John then shares disturbing new intel about the New Mexico incident, revealing that a deadly pathogen was involved, one to which the aliens are immune. Worse still, these creatures communicate telepathically and have already wiped out all life on Mars. Their arrival on Earth could pose an even greater threat if they were to spread further. As the conversation continues, Julian announces that the alien has been killed, trying to offer some sense of relief to the escalating crisis. However, the knowledge of telepathic communication and the possibility of a larger alien presence leaves an unsettling air of uncertainty hanging over the base and the world beyond. The Secretary of Defense, faced with the severity of the virus, makes the hard call. The base must be destroyed to eliminate the infection. He instructs John to lie to the crew, assuring them that help is on the way, but John refuses. Instead, he tells them that a Russian submarine is en route. Sensing something off, Julian presses John for the truth and asks how much time they really have. John hesitates but eventually reveals they have only 3 hours. As the weight of the situation sinks in, Straub panics, insisting they should try to leave on the plane, storm or not. Julian, trying to stay rational, reminds Straub that they might be carrying the virus, and that leaving the base would mean risking global contamination. Straub, desperate, argues that if they were truly infected, they'd already be dead by now. Tension escalates as the crew faces the reality that their time is running out, and there may be no escape from the base or the virus. As the submarine approaches, the scientists run blood tests, hoping to confirm they aren't infected. Despite the negative results, Julian remains cautious, warning that the virus could be so microscopic it might hide within their proteins undetected. Straub, however, sees this as an opportunity to justify leaving the base, and the pilot supports his idea. When Kate refuses to side with them, Straub snaps, lashing out in anger. Enraged, he hurls insults at her and attempts to attack, but Julian reacts quickly, delivering a punch that knocks Straub to the ground. Fearing that Straub and the pilot will still try to escape, the others take the pilot's gun and begin changing the access codes on the base's locks to prevent them from escaping. Meanwhile, the Russian submarine readies its nuclear warheads, set to launch in just 18 minutes. At the base, Kate and Julian finish securing the last lock. Exhausted and full of dread, they clasp hands for comfort. Their brief moment of solace is shattered by a gunshot echoing from the mess hall. Rushing to investigate, they discover Straub and the pilot have attacked Grisham, brutally stabbing him in the neck with a fork. The scene is chaotic as they struggle to comprehend the growing violence, Straub and the pilot seize the gun and make a run for it. Just as Julian and Kate return, Straub fires again, this time hitting Kate in the shoulder, causing her to fall to the floor in pain. Realizing that Straub and the pilot plan to escape through the drain pipes in the cornfield, Julian is sent after them. He blasts through the locked doors, chasing them down as they race toward their getaway. As Straub and the pilot run through the cornfield, their presence alone causes the corn to wither and die, confirming the worst. They are indeed infected. Seeing the destruction they cause, the pilot panics and reconsiders, wanting to turn back to avoid spreading the virus. But Straub, driven by desperation, refuses to change course and becomes increasingly aggressive, threatening the pilot as they argue over what to do next. The situation spirals further out of control as Julian draws closer. Next, the pilot holding the gun faces Straub when suddenly Julian appears at the window. Straub, startled, fires at Julian, but Julian ducks just in time, avoiding the shot. In the chaos, the pilot seizes the opportunity and leaps at Straub. A struggle ensues, but Straub, fueled by desperation, overpowers the pilot and fatally shoots him. As Julian approaches, Straub takes off again, leaving a trail of destruction as every plant withers and dies in his wake. Then Straub, desperate to escape, continues firing at Julian, but his shots miss. Both men eventually find themselves in the network of pipes, racing through them until they emerge at the base of a massive staircase. The chase intensifies as they ascend, with Straub persistently shooting at Julian, though each attempt fails to land. As they climb higher, the tension builds, and Julian knows the confrontation is nearing its final dangerous moments. As Straub finally reaches a hatch and rushes outside, he is immediately caught in a swirling vortex of energy that traps him in place. Julian follows but finds himself stopped by an invisible barrier, unable to move any closer. Desperate, he tries to calm Straub, urging him to breathe slowly and not panic. But Straub, gasping for air and terrified, doesn't listen. His panic intensifies and the energy begins to envelop his body, slowly disintegrating until there's nothing left. The energy now moving towards Julian surrounds him as well, but instead of harm, it shows him vast, awe-inspiring places across the universe. As the vision ends, Julian's mind races, and he finally understands the truth. The energy vortex is an alien spaceship sent to retrieve the deceased alien. Realizing the urgency, especially with the incoming nuclear strike, Julian races back inside to save the remaining survivors, Kate and the remaining scientist. He throws open the front door, urging everyone to escape quickly. Though initially hesitant, the others begin to understand the situation as they spot 2 more aliens outside. Time is running out, but the group rushes forward, their hope now pinned on the alien presence. Inside the vortex, the scientist girl steps forward first, disappearing into the swirling energy. Kate and Julian follow closely behind, holding hands as they move toward the unknown. The alien spaceship absorbs all 4 of them just moments before the nuclear strike obliterates the base in a massive explosion. A few hours later, the government issues a carefully crafted cover story explaining that the base was destroyed by an experimental nuclear reactor accident. They label all the casualties as fallen heroes, successfully burying the true events that took place. The movie concludes with the 4 survivors now find themselves soaring through the vast expanse of space. The alien ship carries them far from Earth, and as they look out at the unfamiliar stars and galaxies, the weight of their situation sinks in. Everything they once knew is behind them. Together, they float through the unknown, unsure of what awaits but bound by the shared experience of survival. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.